I think I'll read back a little bit. Yeah. Okay. They were also okay. I watched a large propane truck go into the back of the mosque I tried to look like I worship at, and some of my fellow worshippers started removing placards from it. They were also painting over the words that say propane and replacing it with the word milk. I don't know about you, but I think my fellow worshippers are up to doing something illegal. I think they're up to doing something creepy with a propane truck. It was just a couple of days ago that they were doing the same thing with a fuel truck. They seem to think that by just taking hazard placards off a fuel truck makes it so everyone will suddenly assume it's a harmless milk truck, for crying out loud. Isn't that stupid? I think they're crazy. I take this concern to the imam to find out what's going on, but the imam knows where I live. He knows where my children play, and worst of all, possibly knows that I'm basically a Muslim in name only to keep from paying the jizya tax, meaning that my hometown is now under Sharia. The G-man looked greatly concerned and asked, "You're not screwing with me, are you, buddy? You're not testing me to see if I'm a hater, are you?" The voice, claiming to be someone called Farouk, said, "What? No, I'm really a Muslim. I'm not testing you to see if you're a hater. There really is something going on with the propane truck down at the mosque. Please check it out and see if they aren't going to do something terror related with it, okay?" There was hesitation in the G-man's voice as he asked, in a trembling voice, "Honestly, I really have nothing against Muslims nor their faith. I'm not a hater at all. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking of becoming a Muslim to prove it." The man who called himself Farouk cussed and hung up the phone. The G-man looked about with fear to see if he was being watched. He then pressed a button to call back Farouk. When the man answered, the G-man said in a whisper, "Okay, I'll send a couple of agents over to check it out, but they have to be Muslim, or it will be my job, if I'm lucky. I'll be seen as a hater, but I'll live." It wasn't long after. It wasn't long later that the G-man hung up. That a man dressed in Muslim garb walked up to him and asked, "What was that? What was the complaint?" The G-man said, "It was about some truck. It sounded like nothing." "Good," said the Muslim man in Islamic garb. "That's what we like to hear around here when it deals with Muslims." The Muslim man smiled wildly at the G-man. He then patted the G-man on his balding head and walked out of the G-man's cubicle. "Lord, please don't send me to hell for bowing to the black stone soon," said the G-man with a look of great depression. And as the G-man fantasized about taking a rocket ride off of Earth to some planet without Islam, Daniel took the truck down the snowy grade of Highway 6 while noticing that the snow on the road was beginning to melt. He looked down near the stick shift and saw bullets stuck in the shield he held up. "I bet you," said a nervous Sally, "mine has five bullets stuck in it." Daniel looked over at Sally and said, "Please get those things on video." "I am," said Sally, trying to keep her head steady. Daniel then said in a jittery way, from the cold air blowing in from the bullet holes and the fact he somehow escaped death, "Pretty soon I'll be able to floor it. But it's going to be strange using chains on a road with no snow. I have no idea what it will be like to drive on the bare road with chains on." Daniel looked in what was left of his mirrors, and saw the SUV following behind him. The Kenworth was following behind it. A voice came in over the CB saying, We know you are very good at not letting us pass. And you are so far lucky at keeping bullets from hitting you. But you will have to stop eventually, where Quran 911 will be obeyed. You are starting to run out of snow for those chains. Speak for yourself, countered Daniel as he tried to adjust the heater. But we aren't hauling weight. You are. And when you do stop, you will be in hellfire when we kill you. The flash drive will then be ours. Daniel picked up his CB closer to his mouth and said, Of course it will. And the reason why is because you worship a thin-skinned evil monster god who causes doubt in the minds of the rational, who think the sun doesn't need to ask permission of all to rise again, nor have to bother washing your nose out 3 times, even if Mo is right about a ubiquitous Satan sleeping in the upper interior of it. You have to kill me because your monster god, Allah, is so damn thin-skinned that it can't take any form of questioning, which to it is considered insult and slander to a guy, Mo, who screwed a 9-year-old and allows for rape in front of husbands who aren't Muslim. Hearing that caused a lot of angry shouting over the CB. Daniel went on with, What's that say about a religion when its God is so thin-skinned that if you question or expose its very own words on the internet in a critical manner, you have to die? Does that kind of religion sound noble, good, and honest to you? Is that a religion worth killing for? Is that a religion worth lying for? A voice then tried to change the subject by saying, We can have you arrested and shipped off to Pakistan, where you will never be seen again, for not only being a hater, but for having guns and a cannon in your truck. By the way, why a cannon? It's not a very good weapon. Daniel then responded back on his CB with, Hey, it scared you off the road, but why a cannon, you ask? Because if the DOT pulls me over, finds me not only armed but carrying a cannon in an attempt to protect myself from Islamists, it might make a whole lot of news and actually keep me from going to Pakistan. Also, if it makes a lot of news, then all the sleeper cells Neville and I set up throughout America while trekking might become activated when I tell the news about the packets I was putting out in rest areas and trek stops. All I have to do is pick up a packet, show it to the camera, then, in the process, everyone might wake up to the evil threat Islam poses to the world when those who have those CDs take them and download them onto, say, YouTube with information on Islam. It then goes viral, and like a joke spreading around the world, becomes greater exponentially, till Islam has a Horror of Dracula movie end to it, where the guy fighting Dracula rips open the curtains of Al-Taqiyya to let the sun shine in, and turns the blood-sucking count, Islam, into a bunch of harmless dust with the sunlight of truth. Truth will be Islam's undoing, eventually. I'm sure of it. We need to take that cannon of his, brother. Shoot out his tires, said a worried-sounding voice. Daniel and Sally suddenly heard more gunshots. Daniel looked at Sally and said, I guess this is where it all ends. If it is, so be it. Still, I'm not going out with a fight. I'm not going without a fight. Daniel slowed his truck down. When he came to a stop, he heard shouts of Allah is greatest coming in over the CB, followed by seen Muslims getting out of both the SUV and the Kenworth. As the assassins crept up behind the truck, Daniel pulled out the Pikachu and tossed it to the side before taking out both his guns. He then said to Sally, I'll aim at parts I hope don't kill them. I don't want to have to send them to hellfire. Besides, it's not their fault that they are this way. They probably didn't ask to be born into such an evil brainwashing situation anyway. Sally lifted up her magnum that she had with her ever since Daniel put down a chain to drive back onto the road with, and said, "I can't make that promise, especially since they are shooting at me as well." "Gad, girl," said Daniel with a smile, "you could have killed me all this time. You could kill me all this time." "But I didn't," said Sally. "What's that tell you?" "Tells me that Mo is definitely wrong about women having half a brain, that's what," said Daniel, looking at the bullet hole-ridden mirrors, looking at the bullet-ridden holes in the bullet hole-ridden mirrors to see if he could see the Muslims coming. Suddenly, two Muslims were heard shouting, "Now!" and they jumped out from under the trailer and ran both down both sides of Daniel's truck to try to get Daniel in a crossfire while shouting Allah Akbar as they made their charge. Right when they were about to try to jump up into the cab and obey Quran 911, 38, and 39, by shooting blindly into the cab of Daniel's truck. Both fell back from being shot by Daniel and Sully. They immediately fired when they felt the truck rock from added weight. The Muslim Daniel shot managed to crawl away, but the one Sally shot didn't, and was twitching on the side of the road in the slush. Daniel pointed his gun and camera at the crawling Muslim shot in the upper chest and shouted, "Throw me your gun so I don't shoot you again if I'm the evil kafir the Quran makes me out to be." "You shot me," gasped the jihadi in great pain on the pavement of the road. "You think I can toss you my gun?" "Then leave it," said Daniel, pointing the gun, both his gun and camera at the man. The Muslim dropped the gun and started hobbling back to the SUV with great pain showing in his face while cussing back in over the CB. While cussing came in over the CB. Daniel jumped over to the other window where Sally was, and saw the Muslim Sally had shot. The gun was still in his hand. "Gad," said Daniel, I think you killed him. I can't believe you did that." "Oh, wait, you did try to kill me. What am I thinking?" "I didn't want our heads resting on our asses, or worse, raped," said Sally nervously. "Oh, I'm not that good looking," smiled Daniel. Sally laughed. "I think you meant you didn't want to be Sunan Abu Dawud," said Daniel as he jumped down to take the gun from the Muslim who appeared dead. The sudden realization that he may only be taqiyyaing and just acting like he was dead stopped Daniel and from advancing any further in trying to take his gun. But Daniel suddenly slipped on the slush that had formed on the step, and fell on the dying Muslim. Daniel composed himself and took the gun while looking to see if more Muslims were coming. Believing there was no reaction from the Muslim he fell onto, being that there was no reaction from the Muslim he fell onto, Daniel got the uncomfortable feeling that Sally had killed the man. Daniel felt a bit guilty, but knowing that others might try to obey Quran 911, 38, and 39, he quickly got back up into the cab, where he picked up the CB and said with shaky hands, "I don't think Sally meant to kill your fellow. He seems dead and will need help if he isn't, especially being that I accidentally fell on him. But if you try to kill us, expect more of the same. We're not going to let you Allahu Egbert our heads off without a fight. We won't go gentle into that good night."